Do the absolute best that we can to make sure that nobody walks through this alone and uninformed. That's pretty cool.
Something she and her siblings learned the hard way.
It's just true, you know.
I'm Usher Qureshi reporting.
All right, Usher, thank you. And that will do it for us today. I'm Chris Stewart. Denver 7 News at 5 starts right now.
Wild Colorado weather, hail out east, downed trees, power outages, even evacuations from a small fire.
It's just scary how something so small can turn into something so huge within matters of minutes.
Those winds are still whipping across the eastern plains. I'll let you know when calmer conditions return to Colorado.
If the sheriff's come, they're gonna take my stuff. And that's a little bit of stuff I got.
Unable to make rent, more than a dozen people being forced out of their Denver home, some with nowhere else to go.
I'm scared.
Another day of strong winds across Colorado. Good evening. Glad you're with us tonight for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Shannon Ogden. So the day started with hail. This is video taken up in Brighton. Also reports of hail out at DIA. And then once the wind started picking up, large trees started coming down. This one crushed a car near Denver's Wash Park. This is along Virginia Avenue in South Washington. Another tree just covered the entire road in Wheat Ridge. Look at that. Also, in Arvada, a small fire forced some people out of their homes for about an hour while crews got things under control. So to tell us everything we need to know, Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson. Mike, we also have power outages in the metro, right? In fact, we lost power twice here at the station.
I'm telling you what, you're about ready to cry uncle on this wind, and thank goodness April's about over. Right now, we still have gusts up to 46 miles per hour at Broomfield, 35 at DIA and in Boulder. And out on the eastern plains, these are not the gusts. These are the sustained winds over a 5-minute period. So it's just howling out there on the eastern plains of Colorado. Temperatures are cooling off as we've had a cold front move through. That front now pushing out near the Kansas border, spawning the thunderstorm activity ahead of it. That's what we had earlier on this afternoon. Behind it, we still have the wind advisories, the blowing dust advisories, the fire weather warnings. They continue until after sunset. And down over southeastern Colorado, that is a blowing dust advisory. Let's take you one of our favorite towns, Holly, in Colorado, and look at that. It is just blowing like crazy. This is from our Viera wireless camera that is in Holly's. Now, as far as conditions heading in to the weekend, we're going to actually see some improving weather conditions for Saturday, and we get some rain and some snow coming up for the state for Saturday night and Sunday, moving into western Colorado and across the Front Range. Sunday night and Monday could be a fairly decent soaker. So there is some hope coming up as we head into the weekend. At least tomorrow, less windy, and by late Sunday and early Monday, some very welcome rain, and for the mountains, some snow. I'll have full details coming up for you in about 15 minutes.
Right, thank you, Mike. We do love Holly around here. We sent Denver 7's Patrick Perez to Arvada once we learned crews were going door to door to evacuate families for a small grass fire off Sheridan Boulevard and West 88th. And as Patrick shows us, even a fire so small it only scorched sheds and a fence, it's a big concern on a day like today.
It was definitely a close call today. You can see just how close the fire got to these homes here. Even going on beyond the fence line there, homeowners had just minutes to grab their belongings. No doubt people are fed up with all of this wind. On yet another red flag Friday, a wind-fueled grass fire forced the evacuation of multiple homes in Arvada.
My mom called me while I was in school. She said that there was a fire a few doors down, so I talked to my friends and rushed down here so I can pack some stuff up.
By the time Hunter Bell and his friends got to his home near 86 in Benton, the fire was nearly out.
It was really scary because it was really close to my house.
And he's not kidding. The fire got right up to his fence line. Were it not for quick-thinking firefighters, the outcome may have been much worse.
Right now, with the winds and the weather conditions the way that they are, the fact that everything is so dry, fire is going to spread hot and fast.
Amber Jones with Arvada Fire says the grass fire was about 100 yards long. It did damage fence lines and sheds, but thankfully no homes despite the strong winds.
There's a lot of things that we can control. The wind is not one of them. It's a little tougher to control wind, and so just sticking to our training and to what we do best is how we get things like this handled and taken care of.
The evacuation alert sent Friday afternoon went out to 400 people as part of Jefferson County's new Lookout Alert system. The county unveiled the system at a press conference earlier this week.
The new system adds more capability for setting up individual preferences on how a resident receives their alerts. So whether that's via SMS text message, email, or landline phone number or mobile cell phone number from a phone call.
Hunter and his friends and family are just thankful the alert that was sent out this time was nothing more than a close call.
It's just scary how something so small can turn into something so huge within matters of minutes.
In Arvada, Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
And crews in Fort Collins stuck putting out a horse manure fire this afternoon. This was at the Equine Center off Rampart Road near CSU. And no horses were harmed by this. Well, Castle Rock police have named Matthew Buchanan as a homicide suspect now after a woman was found dead following a house fire earlier this week. The victim, 59-year-old Elizabeth Bjorlo, is Buchanan's mother. Well, Denver 7 confirmed through court records that she had filed a restraining order against Buchanan last year. Now, Matthew Buchanan was last seen driving a white Dodge minivan, Colorado temporary plate 3964372. Parents in Fort Collins have turned themselves in after police say a 6-year-old boy accidentally shot and killed himself. Police say the boy's mother, Rosanetta McCall, had left the handgun out in the open in her home off East Lincoln Avenue earlier this month. She is charged tonight with child abuse and the unlawful storage of a firearm. Police say her husband, Ron Matthews, lied to officers and tampered with evidence after the shooting. Well, COVID-19 vaccines could be available for children under 5 by this summer. The FDA will meet with Moderna and Pfizer in June and will consider authorization shortly after that. Moderna said yesterday it is seeking emergency use authorization from the FDA for its vaccine for children between 6 months and 5 years. And there are right now about 18 million children in the U.S. currently ineligible for a COVID vaccine. Tomorrow, 40 of the large COVID-19 testing sites are closing in Colorado. This includes the ones at Red Rocks Community College and the 16th Street Mall. 80 state-run community sites, though, will stay open. Now, CDPHE tells us the state can perform 26,000 tests per day, but demand right now is only 5% of that. Well, back in February, we showed you the rundown Clarkson Lodge. 50 people were given just 2 weeks to move out of the complex because the building was sold to a developer. Well, after getting an extension, 20 people are still living there. As Denver 7's Micah Smith reports, and now all of them have to be out by tomorrow.
I'm scared because I don't have nowhere to go.
Yvonne Martinez has known this day would come for over a month.
I don't have nobody. My mom and dad died, so that's why I'm here. It was a cheap place for me to stay.
Martinez pays $650 a month for this room.
I've been here.
But she and other tenants at Clarkson Lodge are being forced out with nowhere to move to.
If the sheriff's come, they're going to take my stuff. And that's a little bit of stuff I got.
Oh, well, I mean, it is.
Tom Snyder's organization, the Colorado Poverty Law Project, is helping Martinez and other tenants with housing resources. After a Denver 7 report first made the organization aware of the mass eviction, the project also helped delay the move-out date.
And we're able to send a letter to the owner of the property to remind them of what the notice requirements were, and we're able to negotiate a 6-week stay.
Snyder says those 6 weeks are up for Clarkson Lodge. In fact, across the state, the Colorado Poverty Law Project is seeing more mass evictions with similar short notices.
We're seeing a lot of older properties that either might have functioned as SROs or hotels at one point in time being redeveloped, gut rehabs.
Snyder says he suspects Clarkson Lodge will also be turned into a high-end property, leaving many, like Wayne Wegman, priced out with few options.
It's hard to get cheap places nowadays. Everything's so expensive. Went 3 times a month. This makes like the 3rd time I've been evacuated, told to leave.
Both Wegman and Martinez know Clarkson Lodge isn't much.
I'm going to be homeless.
They say there are bed bugs and maintenance issues, but they still would have chosen to stay in this place they have called home.
Clarkson Lodge's office manager said at one point there were 50 people living here. Now there are just 20 left. Some have places to go and others don't. Reporting in Denver, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
You called it Spike, though?
Yeah, somewhere the name came in and Spike stayed with us for the longest time.
After losing everything in the Marshall Fire, one family now has a way to get around. And it's thanks to your donations to Denver 7 Gives.
This is huge, and this is really big for us, and thanks so much.
And the Nuggets wrap up the season, and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. offer a glimmer of hope about their return for next season.
All I can do is work as hard as I can to come back.
In my opinion, we could be the best team in the NBA when we have everybody healthy.